Hi everyone, today we're going to make an embroidery. Embroidery is ornamental designs sewn into fabric with a needle. You can pick a letter, maybe an initial for one of your names. That would be the first letter of your first name or the first letter of your last name. That's what I did here. You could also do a number, maybe your favorite number. Maybe you play a sport and it's the number on your jersey. If I take my E here and turn it around, it makes a number 3. Examples of embroidery can be found on jackets, pants, shirts. It's kind of like a patch and it's sewn into fabric. If you have time, you could embroider all the letters of your name. You will need a pair of scissors, a white or black crayon, and a plastic sewing needle. You will need many different colors of yarn for this weaving project. You will need a piece of burlap fabric for this project. It comes in a variety of colors. This is the type of fabric that potato sacks are made out of. It's loosely woven. Cut it into a square or a rectangle. When I'm doing this project in my classroom, I give each student a piece of masking tape and they put it on the back of their fabric and they write their name on it with marker. Here's one way to tie two pieces of yarn together. This is called a square knot. So what you do is you crisscross the two ends, just like you do your shoelaces, right? The first step of tying your shoes, you crisscross the laces together. Here it is again. Crisscross the two pieces one time, and then bring them up and crisscross a second time right above that. See how it kind of looks like a square? And then you pull that tight, and that's called a square knot. And then what you can do is you can cut off that excess yarn that's hanging there, not too close to the knot because it'll come undone. And now you're ready to continue working on your project. Square knot. If you're working with a light colored burlap fabric, I would use a dark crayon like black to draw the letter that you're going to embroider. If you're using a darker fabric, white will show up well. So I've decided to make a letter E. That's for my first name. So I'm going to write a block letter E, or like a bubble letter. And kind of see how I'm holding the fabric kind of tight so it doesn't bunch up and move around. It's okay if it's not perfect, and if you mess up, just draw it again or try on the back. Don't just throw the fabric away because that would be wasteful. All right, and once you get it outlined, now you're ready to start stitching with yarn and a sewing needle. I'm going to use red to outline my letter that I just drew. So I've cut a piece of red yarn, any color. You can do any color you want. You could do any letter. It could also be a number. Maybe you play a sport. It could be the number on your jersey, okay? Just keep it simple, so a letter or a number. All right, once you have your color picked that you want to outline your number or letter with, take your sewing needle and take the end of the yarn and you're going to thread the needle. That means you're putting the yarn through the eye of the needle. That's the eye, okay? So you just thread it through and you can leave it loose and it pulls right back out. I like to tie it so it doesn't come undone as easily. So I just do a crisscross, just real quick, like you do with your shoelaces. And now I'm ready to begin. So I'm gonna start on the back because I wanna keep all of the knots on the back of the fabric. So I'm gonna start on the back and I'm gonna push the needle through the fabric right on that line that I drew, okay? And you're gonna pull, all right? But don't pull all the way through. You want some of this hanging off the back, just a little bit so you can tie it to itself. So leave about that much, all right? Now if you mess up and you pull it all the way out, it's okay, you just start over, all right? So you pull it through, and then you go over a little bit, and then you go down through the fabric, okay? And pull, all right? And now you're on the back. So then you go up through the back and pull, and then down through the front. So you're going up and down, all right? Now some students get confused and their fabric bunches up and they're not sure why. So what happens is, instead of like going through the same side that you just came through, like right now I should go through the top, right? They might go through the back again, and then when they pull, see how the fabric bunches up? And then you might get frustrated. So to fix that, you take the end of the sewing needle and you go back through that hole in the fabric and you just go back a step. See? And it pulls right out, okay? So that's an easy way to fix that. If it gets too tangled up, you could always take your scissors and just carefully cut it off and then have them start over. So basically, it's like we're drawing with the yarn and needle. We're making lines with the yarn and the needle, all right? So I'm gonna go all the way around my letter E here. And when I get to where I began, I'm going to tie the two ends together using a square knot. So I'm gonna fast forward the video and I'll stop at the end and show you how I tie it together. All right, now I'm back to the beginning and I'm going to cut the yarn that has the sewing needle on it. Using a square knot, so I'm just going to crisscross the two pieces together 2 times. And then cut off the extra yarn. Don't cut too close because the knot will come undone. Now, if I had run out of yarn as I was going around my letter E, I would have just tied a new piece to the end and kept going. When I'm stitching, I kind of space my stitches out about 3 or 4 spaces, 3 or 4 holes that are in the fabric, okay? Now I'm going to start stitching the inside of my letter. I'm going to use this light blue color. So first I have to thread the needle. Now, if the end of your yarn is like too puffy like this and it's too frayed and you can't get it through that hole in the needle, just go ahead and just cut that fuzzy part off and then you're ready to keep going, all right? Kind of twist it in your hand, in between your fingers, and then just kind of push it through, all right? And then tie it in a knot so it doesn't come undone. Now for this, I'm going to go back and forth, kind of like what I did in this example of my H. I'm gonna go back and forth like that. And then on the back, it looks a lot different. All right, so I'm gonna start on the back, pull through, and then I'm gonna skip over to this part of the E and pull. Then I'm gonna go over just a little bit there and pull, and then back down to the bottom. Okay, so the front looks like this, but the back looks like that. You can stitch the inside of your initial or your number any direction you like. Okay, just take your time, be patient, and when you run out of yarn, just tie a new piece on and keep going. I'll speed up the video and I'll stop when I get this part done. I finished stitching the inside of my letter E with light blue. Now I need to tie off the ends of my yarn that are on the back. You can tie them actually across from each other like this, but don't pull it too tight that the fabric like bends up and bunches up like that. You don't want to do this. So you could just crisscross it, but don't pull it too tight that the fabric bunches. I decided to make my letter look more 3D. To do that, I'm going to use my white crayon and I'm going to draw some extra lines to make it look three-dimensional. I'm going to trace the white lines that I just drew with some red yarn. So I'm going to start in the back. And I'm gonna go just like I did the outline of the letter. I'm gonna make some more red lines. Okay, so you pull so you have some left over, and then down, pull. All right. So I'm gonna fast forward the video and I'll stop it when I get this part done. Now I'm going to tie the two ends off on the back. The back is where all the knots go, the messy parts that you won't see. Square knot, don't pull it too tight. I'm going to use dark blue because it's a darker value of the light blue, and it's going to make it look more 3D when I add it here. When I'm stitching, I'm going to make a diagonal stitch back and forth to make the illusion that it's three-dimensional. All right, I think that came out pretty nice. Now I still have to do the background color, and then I'm going to do a spiral stitch around the edge to keep it framed and to keep it from unraveling anymore. All right, so I'm going to use some white yarn for the background. So I'm going to cut a piece of white off here. Now I'm going to do a spiral stitch around all 4 sides. This helps keep the burlap from unraveling and coming undone. So you're gonna go through the back, pull, and then instead of going down through the fabric, we're gonna go around and go back up through the bottom. It's kind of like a spiral notebook. You see? And it kind of bunches up. So up through the back, pull, and then it kind of, see, it keeps that together. All right, so through the back, pull, go through the back, pull. All right, and you're gonna do that all around all 4 sides. I'm gonna add a couple more stitches on the corners here. This corner and this corner, maybe this one. Now I'm finished embroidering. I made the letter E, that's the initial of my first name. I did all of the knot tying on the back, that's where it's messy. I did a spiral stitch around the edge to keep the burlap from unraveling and to make kind of a frame. If you turn it around upside down, it could also be a number 3. I hope you enjoyed making this embroidery with me today. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time.